Okay, it's an equation because it has the equal sign, and we know in order to solve it, it has to equal 0. But we still haven't answered the question, why is it quadratic? It's quadratic because it has an x squared. Okay? X squared means it's quadratic. We're going to be dealing with a lot of different kinds of equations throughout the year. This first group of equations we're dealing with are all quadratic equations. We're going to do powers of 3, which are cubic functions. We're going to do powers of 4, which are quartic functions. Powers of 5, quintic. We're going to have powers of x, which are exponential. We're going to have all different kinds of functions. But this is quadratic because of the x squared. So far, we know two or three different ways to solve a quadratic equation. Give me one that we already know. How could I solve a quadratic? What have we done up to this point? We factored, okay? Give me another way. Okay, vertex forms helped us to graph it. So graphing is another way that we can look at to find the solutions. We factored, we graphed. Haven't we taken square roots of both sides as well? Now, when I say take square roots, I'm going to put a star by it because it only works when you have certain things happen. What has to be true when you take square roots? Can I take square roots in this case? I cannot. Why? Because I have one of these guys, right? I cannot take square roots if I have what's called a linear term. I have to have just something squared. That's it. Okay? So in this case, I cannot take square roots. The thing we learned last class was quadratic formula. Okay? So all of these are methods to solve a quadratic equation. And you're going to need to know how to do all of them. We know how to factor. We've done that over and over and over and over again. We factor, we set each of the factors equal to 0. We know how to graph. What am I looking for in terms of the graph? How does the graph help me find the solutions? Where are they on the graph? Be more specific. So for example, if I had this and I had a parabola, where are the solutions? The y-axis, the x-axis, right here. These are the solutions. Okay, and we're going to look more at that today as well. This has two solutions in this particular case. That's what the graph could help us. I've asked you to use a quadratic formula here. And so Tim, you were saying it has what kind of A, B, and the ABC thing. So this is an ABC form. Are they always in this form? Do sometimes you have to move things around to get it to look like that? All right, so in this case, I did all the moving for you. What is A?
A is 5.
Good. What is B?
8.
And what is C?
-11.
Good. So we know how to find A, B, and C. I'm now going to plug them into the calculator, into the formula.
X equals -b plus square root of b
Plus
squared.
or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is something everybody should write down because if they don't know what the formula is, how are you going to know how to solve it? So that's what we need to know. You need to know the quadratic formula. Okay? So at this point, I'm going to plug in the numbers, a, b, and c from the top. Negative b, -8, plus or minus, square root. I'm going to put parentheses where the a, the b, and the c go underneath the square root. We'll come back to that. And then I have all over 2a. I'm just plugging in what I need. It is very important that you put parentheses here. What goes in the parentheses? 8 squared. And then I have 4ac all over 2a. When I'm trying to simplify this particular situation, and this didn't happen on your, how do I start to simplify? Let's start with that. What do I do first? Travis, what did Miss Cannon help you with this morning to help you solve it?
I can tell you.
I want to ask Travis first. You didn't get to do it because you were at Chick-fil-A. Okay, so how would I simplify it? What did I tell you you don't remember.
I remember.
So you need to write it down so we can remember. So go ahead, Thomas. What do we do?
Alright, okay. You ready?
I am ready.
Alright, so first we saw what's inside the was it PIMDOS? We saw what's inside the parentheses.
Well, not parentheses, but what's underneath the square root.
That's what I'm in the square root.
Right. So let's start with that. And I'm not going to put the square root on it at all. I'm just going to do what's underneath. It's called a discriminant, and we're going to talk more about that today. But you must put parentheses. So I have 8 squared minus 4, A is 5, and C is negative 11.
Yeah.
And so I get 284. And so I'm literally just going to say negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 284 all over 10.
So once you got a square root,
Then we're going to get there. So hang tight for just a second. Sometimes the answers are left just like this. Sometimes. This is an acceptable kind. It's one of the answers.
yeah, well, you gotta leave it like that because it's 16.85.
Right. The square root of 284 is not a perfect square. All the ones that you were supposed to do from homework last night were perfect squares. Okay? Which means they simplified exactly. This one does not. So you're going to get what kind of an answer? A decimal, and that's okay. So often we get decimal answers. So let's split them into 2 here. Okay? Let's split them into negative 8 plus the square root of 284 all over 10. And then the other one is negative 8 minus the square root of 284 all over 10. And I want you to try to plug them into your Raoul, that's not your seat, I'll get back. Go sit by my desk and I'll tell you in just a second. So we have 2 different answers. I want you to tell me, plug them into your calculator and tell me what they are at 2 different decimals. Here are some mistakes I'm noticing as you're entering these into the calculator. It is not okay for you to type it in like this.
Oh, we gotta parenthesize it.
Well, you have an option. Oops, I forgot the divide sign.
I'm mad. I just did all that wrong.
Okay, so I told you this last class, and I'm telling you again this class. So hopefully you'll remember next time. You cannot plug it in this way, because the calculator automatically does order of operations. It will divide before it adds, which is not okay.
Nope.
So you have an option. You may either put it in parentheses,
The whole thing?
the whole numerator, like this. That will give you one of the answers. Just the numerator in parentheses, or if you remember, we can go ahead and do the numerator-denominator thing and type the whole top in the numerator, which I think is probably a better idea. And then the bottom in the denominator, because that looks just like what you see, correct? So that's, I think, the easier way to plug it in. But either one should give you the correct answer. So 0.885 is the one of the solutions to this quadratic. Tell me what the second one is. Tell me what the one with the minus sign is going to be. So the other answer is negative 2.49 when you plug it in. Okay? I would like it if we all tried problem 14 from the homework, since so many of us did not get it correct. Okay? Here are the correct answers for those of us who did do it.
Yay!
Okay, here are the answers. The answers you should have gotten, the one I graded for extra credit, was negative 2/3 6. But I'd like us to try 14. For those of you who are planning on doing this for a late grade, I'm fully expecting that you show me your work. Show me how you use the quadratic formula. Those were the directions on this. Here, I'll write problem 14 down. So here is 14. I'd like you to solve it using the quadratic formula. Okay? For those of you who did get it right, you don't have to redo it. That's fine. But there were only about 3 of us. Everybody else, I want us to solve this. What's the first thing you have to do before you plug it into the quadratic formula?
Set it equal to 0.
Good. And it's not equal to 0 yet. You'll have to do that first. Perfect. So you guys, a couple of us are having sign issues, and I wanted to address that. Okay, Shami brought it up over in this side. Daniel brought it up on this side, not Daniel. Travis and Bradford brought it up on this side. If you want to move the 3x squared to the other side, that is okay. It would simply mean that all of the signs would be different. All of them. I don't care which way you go. It doesn't matter. I tend to like my leading coefficient positive because it makes it easier to factor if we're going to factor. But since we're doing the quadratic formula, it really doesn't matter. So I have my A, my B, and my C. But if you don't have the signs correct, your answers won't be either, okay? So our A is going to be 3, our B is negative 16, and our C is negative 12. Or, if you moved it the other direction, you could have had A is negative 3, B is positive 16, and C is positive 12. Both are correct. So now what we're going to do is just simply plug it in. I have negative B. B is already negative. So what do I do? It becomes a positive. So positive 16 plus or minus. You 100% must have parentheses here because if you don't, it's not going to be, you're not going to be squaring the negative and it will turn out incorrect.
Oh my gosh.
So when I do that, I'm going to plug in B squared minus 4A and then C. And what I need to do is I need to simplify what is underneath the square root first. Okay? When I plug that in, what do I get? So let's try plugging it in.
Wait.
I'm going to go ahead and just simplify what's underneath the square root. Negative 16 squared. Oops. I forgot my parentheses.
This one? That's E.
Negative 16 squared. I need parentheses around the negative 16 minus 4A and then C. A. Here we go. Doesn't like. There we go. Negative 12. All right, and I push enter and I get 400. That's what goes underneath the square root. The discriminant is 400. So I'm going to have 16 plus or minus the square root of 400 all over 6.
So it's going to be...
Does the square root of 400 reduce perfectly?
20.
Good. So because it reduces perfectly, we can go ahead and do that. So I have 16 plus 20 all over 6. And I have 16 minus 20 all over 6. We can give exact answers in this case. Because B is already negative and there's a negative in the formula, that's when it becomes a positive.
And then 16 minus 2?
Do you have another question, Chris? You have your hand up.
I put my question in.
The square root of 400 is 20. I'm just reducing it one step at a time.
Alright, so we're going to get
36 divided by 6 is a positive 6. 16 minus 20 is negative 4 divided by 6 is negative 2/3. It is okay if you wrote negative 0.6 repeating. Or negative 0.67. I would accept that. Okay? So what I've done for you is I've given you some practice problems. Look at problems 1 through 6. We're going to do the bottom ones in a few minutes. But I've given you 1, 2, and 3 already set up for you. So if you'll find your sheet, Travis, on your desk. Okay? So we have 1 through 6. You need to get them equal to 0 first. I have set up 1, 2, and 3 already for you, haven't I? I've gone ahead and plugged in the A, the B, and the C on 1, 2, and 3. So those shouldn't take you long. You just know you need to simplify what's underneath the square root first, and then break it into your 2 possible solutions. So I'm just going to pause for a few minutes. I want you to do problems 1, 2, and 3 only right now. 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3 were set up for you. You will eventually be doing 4, 5, and 6 as well. But you will eventually be doing 4, 5, and 6 as well. However, let's talk about what the discriminant is. So if you will, you turn over on the back of this and write it down, or you can just kind of put your pencil down. But no one should be working on these problems right now. Okay, we're stopping what we're doing. I want us to think about for a second. So Shamar, make sure you're looking at what I'm doing, okay? How many solutions does a quadratic equation have? It could have two. What does that look like? If it has two solutions, what does the graph look like? So 2 is a possibility, I agree. Two places on the x-axis. Perfect. Are there any other possibilities? There are. What are some other possibilities? We talked about this before. Can it have 3 solutions? Can it have 4 solutions? So the biggest number of solutions it can have is 2. Can it have 1 solution?
Yeah.
It can. What does the graph of that look like? Nope, it's still a parabola. What's that tip called? The vertex. So the vertex is just going to kiss the axis, just like that. Okay? So just the vertex. All right? How about no solutions? I'm sorry, could it have 0 solutions? Yes, it can. Because that means it would never cross the x-axis. So it can just kind of be up here, or it can be underneath, below, or something like that. So 2, 1, or 0 are the only options. Something in the quadratic formula tells us that, actually. Okay? This is what we need to know. Something called the discriminant. I kind of use that word over and over again. But the discriminant is just the part of the quadratic formula that's underneath the square root. It's the b squared minus 4ac. And it will, in and of itself, tell you how many solutions there are. If the discriminant is greater than 0, which means it's a positive number, it has 2 solutions. If the discriminant is 0, it has 1 solution. You need to write this down, guys. This is part of your notes. This is not going to help you on the bottom. Okay, I'll turn the lights down so you can see it. You can write it on the back of this paper. You can put it in your notes I gave you, your spiral binder, either one. But what's inside this box over here, I'll highlight it, is going to be pretty important for you to write in your notes. No, a discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. It is simply just the number underneath the square root. So, if the discriminant, remember that's b squared minus 4ac, which is what's underneath the square root in the quadratic formula. If it is greater than 0 just means it's positive. If that number is a positive number, it has 2 solutions. If that number equals 0, it has 1 solution, which means the vertex kisses the axis. If the discriminant is negative, which means it's less than 0, it's going to have 0 real solutions. Next week, we're going to talk about imaginary and complex solutions. It actually does have an answer. It just happens to be imaginary or complex. It means it doesn't cross the x-axis. The imaginary numbers, complex numbers, number plane. We're going to deal with that next week. But for now, we're just talking about real solutions. Okay? So, the discriminant, or the number that's underneath the square root, tells us how many solutions we're going to be looking for. In all of the 6 problems at the top of the worksheet that you guys are looking at, it has 2 solutions every time. If you look at problems 1, 2, and 3 for me, what is the discriminant in problem number 1? Turn your paper over and look at it. What number did you get underneath the square root?
4.
4. Is 4 bigger than 0? Is 4 a positive number?
No.
So that's why it has 2 solutions. Look at number 2. What was the discriminant in number 2?
41.
Good. 41. A positive number?
Yeah.
Yes. It has 2 solutions. How about in number 3? Did anyone get that far? 164. Is it a positive number?
Yeah.
Yes. That tells me that we have 2 solutions. Actually, all of them have 2. Okay?
So if they have a solution that is positive?
If it has 2 solutions, the number is positive. If the number is 0, it only has 1. And and if there's a negative underneath the square root. Doesn't that kind of make sense? April, when she was working on these, said one of mine has a negative. That's a non-real answer. Can you guys type in the square root of like -5 on your calculator right now? Go ahead and try it. What if the discriminant was negative? What if the number underneath the square root was negative? Try the square root of -5.
It says error.
Non-real answer. Can you take the square root of a negative number?
No.
Not to get a real answer. But again, next week we're going to talk about imaginary answers. There are.
The square root of an absolute value.
Not absolute value, believe it or not. It's just something, a different number type from the complex number. So let's try one. Okay? Let's circle the discriminant here. Look at problem number 5 here on the board. Which one of these three represents a discriminant? B squared minus 4AC. I see a mistake with all of it. I don't see an answer at all on number 5.
I don't see it either. Nope.
Where's the mistake?
Everywhere.
Right there, Shamar.
The third one.
Okay, the third one's close.
There's some. I thought I had it.
I don't see an answer at all. Let's try it. B squared. B is negative, so what do you have to do with it? Parentheses. Minus 4AC. Do you see that anywhere? I think there's none of these are the right answers. Do you? Don't you agree? Like none of these are right.
So even the last jump, like if I'm going to parentheses?
It's because you have to square the negative. And if you don't put the negative inside the parentheses, it'll be wrong. The negative times negative is positive. Let's hopefully, in the next one, there's an answer. Let's see if there is. B squared minus 4AC. Do you see one? You're just looking for the discriminant, honey. The discriminant is B squared minus 4AC. So you have to look and see what B squared minus 4 times A times C is. Which one of those is the
last one.
The last one is. Now, I would put parentheses around that 4, right? But since it's positive, it's not required. So that one is a discriminant. How about number 7? B squared minus 4AC. The first one. Yeah. B squared because B is 1 minus 4 times A times C. I agree.
That because it's positive?
Well, let's decide. Let's first of all, let's find the discriminant. Let's figure out how many solutions each of these have, okay? So let's try number 8 real quick. B squared. Again, I see a mistake.
No square.
Parentheses around that -12, right? That's a mistake. B squared by, this should be minus 4. That should be a minus. AC. Do you agree with that now? What a terrible thing. So I want you to do me a favor. Tell me in number 6 how many solutions. Why? Number 7, how many solutions? Why? So plug them into your calculator.
I still don't understand it.
What? You don't understand B squared minus 4AC? You were just been doing it.
No, I understand it, but I don't know how you know if it's a solution or not.
Okay, so just give me the numbers. Go ahead and simplify them all first. Plug them into your calculator. Tell me what the numbers are first, and then I'll tell you how to get how many solutions there are. So plug them in. See what we got. How many solutions does the first one have?
2.
I disagree.
Oh,
I got -8 as my discriminant. Because of the negative, how many solutions does it have?
0.
Let's go back, guys. If it has a negative number underneath the square root, that means there are 0 solutions. So the discriminant is negative.
Wait.
This tells me there are no real solutions.
What do you mean by under the square root?
B squared minus 4AC.
What do you mean?
That is the number in the quadratic formula underneath the
Oh,
square
okay.
root.
So if it has a negative number?
Yes. This is the negative number.
Well, isn't it -4 anyway, like -4 every time?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the number underneath the square root is negative.
Oh, so if it
You can
ends up
simplify
being
the
negative?
whole thing.
Okay, so if it ends up being negative.
Yes. Let's try 7. What is that discriminant? Positive. I got a +5. So that tells me how many solutions there are. 2 because it's a positive number. I really don't care what number it is as long as it's positive, right? Any positive number. So 2 real solutions for number 7.
Oh, I'm starting to get it.
Good.
So that means both of those numbers are like are they both straight answers?
There will be 2 solutions.
Like, so if, none of them could be a decimal.
Could be. I don't know what they are.
How do you get one solution?
It's indeterminate 0. I don't think this one is 0, but maybe it is. Let's try. Is it actually?
It is. I tried it.
So negative 12 squared minus 4 times A times B. And I got 0. So that tells me how many solutions are there? 1. A lot of people want to say because a discriminant is 0, there's 0 solutions. That's not true. This is just when that graph kisses the x-axis. Right? That's what that looks like. So there's 1 solution. So, what you have to do for the rest of class is finish this. Okay? Go ahead and try 10, 11, and 12 for me right now. I've set up 10, 11, and 12 for you. Okay? So I've set it up for you right here, 10, 11, and 12. I want you to go ahead and simplify it just like we did here. Tell me what the discriminant is, and then tell me how many solutions. So just like you see here. I am grading these problems for accuracy, so when you are finished, you are to turn it in. Okay? You do have a test next class on all of quadratics. Okay? Here, all solving the quadratic equations.
So
Okay? So these are the sections you're going to see on your test. We know how to solve by factoring. We know how to factor, we know how to solve. I'm going to give you some problems out of the book that correspond to each of these sections. Okay? So these sections are this is going to be like these are the sections that your test is going to be divided into. Okay?
But it's also homework, right?
So, well, if you don't finish your classwork in class, and you can take it home for homework, but you have a different homework assignment. Because you have a test review. So your goal is to get as much done in class as you possibly can.
So you want us to do the solutions and stuff too?
Let me finish what I need to for just a second, okay? All right. This is going to be on page 270. I want you to do problems 37, 37, and 38.
Can I just take a picture of it?
Yes, when I'm done.
And you're going to do what you call?
I'm only giving you 2 problems to solve by factoring. There's obviously going to be more than that on your test, but I'm just going to give you 2. Solving by the quadratic formula.
I have a question.
Give me just a second, please.
It's really important.
Okay, can I finish what I'm doing, and then I'll be glad to answer your question. On page 271, I want you to do 61 and 62. And notice I'm giving you an odd problem and an even problem, so the odd problems you can check in the back of the book. That doesn't mean only write the answer in the back of the book. Okay, that means that you got to show me your work. All right, number 3, solve by graphing. Okay, so that's going to be on page 270. I want you to do problems 41 and 42. Again, an odd problem and an even problem. Solve by taking square roots. That's going to be on page 271. I want you to do problems 49 and 50.
About taking square roots, is that what we're doing now?
Okay, hang on. And then, how many solutions does it have? It's page 271, problems 65 and 66. Again, an odd problem and an even problem for each section. There are 5 sections to the test. We've done all of it. Okay? Quadratic formula we reviewed again today. We looked at how many solutions using the discriminant today. We've done factoring over and over and over again. We've talked about using the graph, how to find the solutions from that as well. Do you remember how to do it on the calculator?
No.
Let's go over that one more time. So if I'm going to solve by using the graph, I'm just going to plug one of them into the calculator. It doesn't really matter. And I will text this to you, and I'll put it on School Fusion as well. But let's just see what kind of picture I have in my calculator first. Sorry, wrong thing. go. All right, so let's look at my graph. So let's just see what I have in here. I don't have anything. Let's just plug something in. Let's plug in negative 2x squared plus 4x, plus 4x plus 6. I don't know. Just graph it. See what it looks like. Okay. How many solutions does it appear as though this graph will have? 2. We need to find them. They are here and here. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they're in the table or not. We can look there. Maybe. Oh, I got a 0. So isn't 3 one of the solutions? Okay, 3 is one of them. Oh, and look at that. Negative 1 happens to be as well. So the table is one way to find it. If they're not exactly, do you remember how I can go on either side, left bound, right bound, where I go? Second calc. Just a trace key. Second calc. Come on. There we go. Where do I go here?
0.
Good. I'm going to go to the 0. And then I'm going to pick one. I'm going to start with the one on the left-hand side. When it says left bound, it means I'm going to go on either side of that 0 or that root. Press enter. When it says right, I go on the other side. I press enter. Yes is always enter. Negative 1 is one of the solutions. If I want to find the other one, I'm going to move my little flasher guy to the other side. So second trace or calculate. Let's try to find the other solution.
I'll have 6 fingers.
Maybe. All right, I'm going to move to the other side. Over here. When it says calculate the 0 in this case, I'm going to go on the left side. Look where my flasher guy is. What happens if I do it in the wrong order? It won't blow up on you. It'll just give you an error message.
What are you doing there? Why are you doing it like
Because it says left bound. And so I have to go on either side here of this 0. The left is going to be, in this case, above it. Press enter. And I'm going to go on the other side. Press enter.
Does it matter where you press enter?
It doesn't really, as long as you go on either side. This little E thing, by the way, that just means 0. All right? So don't worry about that. Just treat that as a 0.
And you put this in a whiteboard, right?
You do. You plug it into the calculator.
Is it okay if I skip the solve by quadratic formula? Because I don't know.
Nope. You got to do all of this for homework, so make sure you have it written down. Everybody